Today we're reviewing Collapse of the Republic, the third era sourcebook for Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars RPG, and it is also a sister book to the second one to come out, Rise of the Separatists, which we've already talked about, and I'm going to be referencing this one a bit and comparing and contrasting, but anyway, so Collapse of the Republic takes place sort of at the end of the Clone Wars. It's a darker time in the galaxy, therefore there's special rules where there's more dark side points on the table because it's a darker time and additional rules. I'm getting ahead of myself. It takes place at the end, the collapsing of the Republic, and overall there's more of a scum and villainy kind of outsider dark feel to it, sort of creeping into the war. The Dathomirian Night Sisters, and there's more like bounty hunters and other such unsavory types rearing their ugly head in the Clone Wars. So let's start with the character option species. 4 species, just like Rise, and also just like Rise, we got the clones, which are just like how they are in Rise of the Separatists. They're human with emphasis on physical capability, also a little bit of a knowledge warfare help, and if you want to just think of them as like another type of human, just like the Corellian pilot from that one location source book, Sons of Fortune, or a couple other human variants, you can kind of think of them in that way if you want to house rule it like that. The Dathomirians are part of a matriarchal society on Dathomir. There's also like human and Zabraki colonies, and they sort of rule with an iron fist. Kind of, they're near humans, and they have an emphasis on survival and intimidation. I don't find them to be all that interesting, though there is a Night Sister talent tree in here, so it's a good fit to each other. The Carcharodon. The Carcharodon are shark people. They're basically shark transitions, more or less. They don't have the regeneration, but they're just really tough. They got, additional limbs. That's the wrong stat block. Really tough, really athletic. They, of course, are especially good at moving through the water. And also they have that claws ability, well, jaws, which helps them with brawl attacks in a really awesome way. And culturally, there's this little set that I love, which I don't think we get any more on them. I wish we would, but basically part of the Caradon war machine is that they use bioengineering with cybernetic technology implants to make themselves stronger, give themselves stronger jaws, but also use the jellyfish's electrical shields to make them resistant to blaster fire, and I guess ride them into battle or something? I don't know. There's some fun stuff there. I wish we just got a couple pages on the Caradon war machine now. I'm intrigued. And also, we have these really awesome-looking spider people. The Harch, they're the ones with the extra limbs, so they get the extra maneuver. They also have venomous fangs to help them with brawl checks, though in a different way that the shark people get. And they're just really clever, perceptive spider people. If you want a manipulative spider person, this is the one for you. But also, they have a really low amount of experience points to make up for all these extra abilities that they have. Getting that extra maneuver for free is insane, plus the brawl help. So yeah, they have really crappy starting experience, so maybe not as flexible as some other trees. One of the lowest, but maybe not the lowest. I think Huts actually have it worse. Anyway, specializations, just like Rise of the Separatists, we got 9 specializations. 5 of them are from careers, 3 are from the new clone career, 2 are from the new Jedi career, which, yes, is weird and annoying that Jedi only get 2, and also 2 of them, they have this force rating requirement where you need a force rating of 2 or 3 respectively. One of them is the Master, you can't get at character creation. The other one, Jedi General, you can get at character creation if you raise it at creation with the new rule that they get, where you can spend points to actually get a force rating increase, but that's going to cut into your starting characteristics. It's a pretty good rule, I like it. I just wish it was in Rise of the Separatists. It's dumb that it's in here and not in here. Basically, if you start as a Jedi from Rise of the Separatists, you get 2 specializations total, and you can only pick one as you're starting, because you don't have the force rating to do it. You need this extra rule to have the extra force rating to do it. Then when you get this book, you get, first of all, only 1 signature ability. The clones and the Jedi only get 1 signature ability each, which is in this book, we'll cover in a minute. And 2 of them also have a force rating requirement, one of which you can get as a starting specialization if you get the extra force rating, the other one you can't. It's kind of a hard road. I think the idea is that these careers are supposed to be kind of limited for the Jedi in the ways I just described, and for the clones, the fact that Maybe you should only have clone species play the clone career and not like reskin it to be some generic soldier or bounty hunter or whatever else. And that's because, at least in theory, these specialization talent trees are just really awesome, which the clones definitely are. Some of the clone trees are fan-damn-tastic. And also we have 4 universal specializations, which also are really great. And that's the thing, 9 specialization talent trees in this game, and go watch the individual video I've made on all of them so far. They're all, at the very least, good trees, and some of them are fantastic. Overall, really great character creation options, especially if you use my house rule, where every universal specialization is essentially attached to every career, so you can pick it as a first, which I think you should be able to do. Anyway, let's move on to signature abilities. We got the Jedi's Peerless Interception and the Clone Soldier's Unmatched Teamwork. Unmatched Teamwork is all about assisting people. You have an easier time assisting people, and you can just be better at assisting people. It is important to note that as you increase your ability to assist people, the bonuses you apply are replaced. Keyword instead. The character's assistant instead will do this, so it's not on top of. Make sure you're doing that correctly. Peerless Interception, basically you have an easier time with parry and reflect. You have an easier time with that, and you can do more stuff with that. Even the improved version, so I guess you'd want to have the improved version to make the most of it, to where you're reflecting attacks backward. You get some more help with that. 2 nice signature abilities. The Clone Assist one is certainly more interesting than I Shoot Things Betterer. We have enough of that. So yeah, I like that we have a signature ability centered around assisting, and really it helps all clone characters. It's kind of universal. Whether you have more of a clone leader, a clone pilot, a clone soldier, or some clone medic or engineer build that you made up, whatever else, the signature ability, the one that we have, works really well. And also it stacks fairly well. If you have multiple people doing it, they're all helping each other out. It stacks very well. Some signature abilities, like, it doesn't quite work if you have more than one person doing it at the same time. So it's good for this career. If we're only going to have one, that's a good one to get. And the other one just makes you feel like a really powerful Jedi. I like it. So, equipment. We have the same basic rules of the economy is different, so there's going to be... you're going to have an easier time, like, getting your hands on a lightsaber or crystals or that sort of thing. Adjust the rarity. We also have the standard loadout rules, just like in Rise, where basically you can get cloned stuff for cheaper within a limited frame. They tell you, and they give you some choice what your standard loadout can be, and so you spend your starting money. You have to get a bonus starting money, but you can spend starting money to get the clone armor and blasters, so you're outfitted and not just with like heavy clothing and a slug thrower, like you might be with some other campaigns. And there's a big emphasis in this book in terms of the equipment on kind of like specialized armor for the clones, and also weapons, and also armor to a lesser extent for people sort of outside the clone Jedi paradigm. So there's like a Night Sister energy bow, there's some Mandalorian stuff in here, I think the shoulder-mounted micro rockets that were in the Bounty Hunter source book. Also, the whipcord that Boba Fett uses, that's in here, which is really nice, and some other Bounty Hunter type stuff, or Mandalorian, Jango Fett kind of stuff in here. Boba Fett's carbine, I think, is in here. That's one he used, right? And also we have that little chart where it talks about different types of missions. Aerial assault, aquatic assault, reconnaissance, security detail. What's the standard issue equipment for those types of things? So if the clone players are going on a certain mission, they'll be kitted out with this, or maybe it's a rescue party for a mission that went wrong, an aerial assault that went wrong, and they find a body or two, and they got a JT-12C jetpack on it and a whipcord thrower attachment per trooper, and so they can gather equipment that way and use it as they're discovering what happened. Why did the aerial assault go wrong? That sort of thing. Lightsabers, we have the basic double-bladed saber cane and also the hilt of each, so you can far more cheaply make your own, but like I said, you can also cheaply just get one, just be issued one because of the cost, though you may not want it, because it's still pretty expensive for a starting character. You're going to have to take all of the extra points via morality, duty, obligation, or whatever else in order to get the starting lightsaber. Pretty much, anyway. Also from the Bounty Hunter sourcebook, Mandalorian armor, and then, as I said, all the attachments and type of gear that are Mandalorian-like are in here. The wrist mount to mount weapons to it, so you can really sort of customize your armor jetpack, of course, rocket boots. We also have a fair amount of land speeders and ships, vehicles, walkers, etc. Capital ships as well. I guess it's roughly comparable to what you had in Rise of the Separatists, just different ones. And of course flat cannons from the Ace sourcebook that Rise also had. If you want some anti-aircraft guns in your campaign, there's some stuff on the lore and talk about the power, the state of the Republic, and the emergency powers, just how is it organized, the Jedi Order, the Grand Army of the Republic. There are some named characters, Anakin, Ahsoka Tano, and there's also small sections like this of about equal size of the Separatists and the criminal underworld, and actually probably a bigger emphasis on the criminal underworld. As I said, this book is more a scum and villainy flavored version of Rise of the Separatists. Planets, holy crap, we got 2 more planets than Rise did. We have Coruscant, Dathomir, Felucia, Kashyyyk, Mandalore, and finally, what was the other one? Utapau. Most of these have been featured in the movies, not all of them. Some of them are a bit more obscure, but we have roughly the same amount of time spent on each, give or take, and there's a modular encounter for each. Noticeably more content on the planet side than in the Rise of the Separatists, so if that's more your preference, you're probably going to want to lean towards getting this one instead if you can only pick one. And also, the missions themselves, they tend to feel more Edge of the Empire-ish, or there's a focus on wilderness in some cases. It's more Clone Wars neutral, I would say. There's a race, a high-stakes race that you can gamble on or take part in. There's a Mandalorian Black Market. We also have general campaign advice. If you're playing with more advanced characters, there's some advice on that. Optional rules, we have the mass combat system that was in the, I want to say, the Commander sourcebook. Same exact rules, no changes from what I can tell. When you roll a mass combat check, part of it is based off of your leadership ranks, unless you have something that changes it. Part of it is based off of the size of the force, and we have, like, examples. A significant size force could be dozens of Mon Calamari or Tusken Raiders, or a company of B-1 battle droids, or so on. Imposing is a squad of droidicas. Maybe it's vast, which is an entire battalion of clone troopers, or B-2 super battle droids or something, and they also do that for starship forces as well. We also have reasons to add boost die and setback die to such checks, as well as a chart on how to spend certain results on such checks. And overall, I've had a lot of fun with the mass combat system, especially doing mass combat checks staggered with more smaller encounters and have them affect either or, which I think they talk about a little bit in here, in phases and all that. Interjecting normal encounters that are affected by and affect the larger mass combat checks. That's fun to do. I've had a lot of fun on both ends of the spectrum, GM or player, with the mass combat rules and with a little tweaking that kind of comes naturally. It's not really house ruling, it's just more what can you do with it, around it, to help enhance the experience. I've had a lot of fun with it. So, adversaries, there's a fair amount of droid focus still, just like in Rise of the Separatists, though most of the droids are not ones I recognize. I'm sure the Clone Wars show's fans are going to be a big fan of what's here. Buzz Droid, I remember those. That's it. But like a sharpshooter droidica or the super battle droid rocket trooper, that's awesome looking. Look at that monster. They also seem pretty varied. I kind of like the idea of just my own made up droid army. This new threat that the clone and the separatists have to join together to fight against or something. Or maybe in a different era where you're just fighting an army of droids or whatever. There's a droid rebellion on some planet or colony and you have to deal with it. Most of the other adversaries are kind of, you know, scum and villainy or fringes type stuff. Night Sister, Night Brother, the Death Watch Commando, you know, the Mandalorian jetpack people, some criminals, and also there is a basic clone trooper and sergeant, Jedi Temple Guard, Senate Guard, Jedi Padawan. There's a decent amount of variety here. But, like much of the book, it does feel kind of incomplete without the other one. They are definitely a great asset to any Clone Wars campaign when you buy them together, but for most Clone Wars campaigns in most people's eyes, how they see them, they're probably going to want Rise of the Separatists, and then think of Collapse as a supplement to it. But, you know, it depends on what era you want to play in. You and your group may be very familiar with the show, and they want to sort of continue and play in the latter half of the Clone Wars or something. So obviously Collapse of the Republic is going to work a little better, mostly based off of the locations you want to visit and the types of enemies you'll come across. Also, Collapse of the Republic works really great as a general war book that has an emphasis on the fringes of society and, you know, the edge of the empire, wretched hive of scum and villainy type of campaigns. A great Rogue One kind of book. So this would serve as a great supplement to Dawn of Rebellion, which is specifically about that era. And also, the mass combat rules in this is huge to really shake up any big war campaign and make it feel like a big war campaign. So for some people, this is gonna be the best first supplement for you, especially if you're really focused on the era itself and you really want to continue what they did in the show. But if you have like the Age of Rebellion core rule book or the leader book, those can be a big help to any big war campaign, and so you might not need to supplement this with Rise of the Separatists once you have that set up. But depends on what you're doing and what you want to do with it. But overall, a really good book. Some of the best specializations in the game, some of my favorite anyway, are in this. And yeah, it's just a really great value. That's it for today. If you like this and want to see more, come back tomorrow. We got a new video every day for all of December.